I'm Michael Delavar with Campaign for Liberty, and I'm sitting with Texas Congressman Ron Paul, and he's also the champion of the Constitution and the founder of the Campaign for Liberty. Dr. Paul, would you describe exactly what Campaign for Liberty is?
Campaign for Liberty is a group that was a follow-up from the presidential campaign, to continue to spread this message of liberty. And it's a grassroots organization. It's technically a C4 organization, but it's mainly to educate and be involved in promoting certain types of legislation.
I think we can all agree that there's a lot of work to be done at the federal level to return to our constitutional limited government roots. Your Audit the Fed bill, H.R. 1207, has received about 170 co-sponsors, including 7 of our 9 representatives here in Washington State. Would you talk for a moment about how we can make real progress with nonpartisan, common sense bills and the limitations of partisanship?
Well, I don't think you'll ever get rid of the partisanship, because they're always struggling to have power. Right. Sometimes they don't even argue over the issues as much as just partisanship, you know, and they just want to know who's going to be in charge. But there are certain pieces of legislation that will cross party lines, and they have to be timed right. The reason the 1207, or the transparency bill of the Fed, is so popular is because it happens to be a time when we're in the midst of an economic crisis and people are trying to figure out what's wrong. They know Congress is spending money like crazy, and they know it's being done irresponsibly, and they appropriate hundreds of billions of dollars, and they don't know where it goes, and ends up into some of the companies that are bankrupt and paying these exorbitant retirement benefits. But then when they hear that the Federal Reserve gets involved in trillions of dollars, the people become outraged too. So that's why a lot of Democrats have joined a lot of us in the Republican Party to ask for opening up the books to find out exactly what they've done. We've never known exactly what the Fed has done, but as long as the economy was perking along, they figure, well, they're taking care of things. But now that we're in trouble and we're calling attention to it, that the Federal Reserve has contributed to this problem, then there is a clamor now at the grassroots level. It makes a big difference, and that's where Campaign for Liberty has come in, because they've been able to spread that message and get people at the grassroots level to ask their members of Congress to support the bill. So it is a reflection that the system can work if people are energized enough and the people are concerned enough. They will bring about changes.
I've noticed that you lead by example, and one of the examples that I've noticed is that you don't speak badly about people publicly. Have you found that you've gained allies in Congress by not talking negatively in public in a negative partisan fashion? And what suggestions do you have for your supporters as they begin their grassroots activist careers?
Yeah, and sometimes it's not easy because, you know, I never liked our foreign policy in the last 8 years, and it's hard to talk about foreign policy and not personalize it with our president or our vice president. But I usually would rather talk about the administration or the president rather than using names, because I wanted to be a philosophic argument, an issue argument. And I think it does help. But what I think helps me get along with the Democrats as well as the Republicans is always voting on a set of principles. Everybody knows what my principles are. And if the chips fall where, even though I'm a Republican, it's supporting the Democratic side, you know, you get some respect from them at least. But sometimes, of course, it works both ways. Sometimes it'll annoy the Republicans. Exactly. if you don't just stand on the party line. But I think overall, long term, people will respect the positions that you take if you do it on principle.
Many lobbying organizations attempt to activate their members to pressure Congress to vote against bills. And while this is important, it's only half the battle. In order to have limited constitutional government, we also have to enact some legislation to undo regulations, if you will. And in having H.R. 1207, the Audit the Federal Reserve bill, as the flagship activity of Campaign for Liberty, is this a taste of the positive actions to come? In other words, not just negative pressure, but positive solutions?
Well, I think partially so. I mean, it doesn't give the answer. It's working toward an answer.
Right.
Because we are opposing the secrecy. So almost everything that is positive is negative as well. So if you're against the government intrusion in our privacy, you are for personal liberty. So, no, I think it should lead to the stage where you have to decide what you're going to replace the system for. If we think the Federal Reserve is bad, and we think paper money is bad, then we have to have a substitute. Of course, you don't have to come up with anything totally creative about that. Maybe just read the Constitution and we might find the answer. But there'll be a challenge. I mean, you just can't go from where we are and snap your fingers and have the Federal Reserve system undone. And there's ways you can work transition. So, but I think the first step was to get attention of as many people as possible to say that there's something wrong at the Federal Reserve. We need to look into the policy, and the responsible position is for Congress to have oversight.
Dr. Paul, on behalf of Washington State Campaign for Liberty members, I thank you for your service to our nation, and also thank you for your taking time to speak with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.